Because of the word of the Druid, he's been exiled from the land of the Celts.
What did he do?
His poetry undermined the laws of the Druid.
We'll see him no more.
Best remember what he looks like. We'll see him no more.
The Druids were known, yet mysterious, powerful men and women who studied for their trade 20 years. They traded in knowledge, poetry, wisdom, magic, and the law. They were sought out by kings and queens for their expert counsel and trusted interpretation of the freehand laws. These are ancient people, written laws that survived in some form until the 16th century. Druids served their Celtic communities as judges, lawyers, and doctors. They were much like the learned class in India. However, studying the culture and the beliefs of the Celts revealed more than the academics. Beware the power of conquering the power of the Druid. Beware.
The Druid, they were studied by people like the Romans and that as a known enemy type of strategy. Sorry. Okay. And because of their practiced memories and their traditional oral culture, they were known as the rememberers, keepers of the traditions. Well, and I guess to the more modern scientists, they were known as the Brahmins.
Slow down there, Josephine. It's still wet. How do you like the color?
Oh, it's brilliant, honey. Just like you. What's it called again?
You know, you're really something, Joe. You can remember all that ancient stuff in detail, but in the moment, gorgeous red. The nail color is called gorgeous red.
And I love it.
Where is that woman? She's late. Has anybody heard from Amber? Why so restless, darling? What are you and Amber cooking up now? Some wretched compost? You guys couldn't compost if your lives depended on it. That's why we've got you and Amber in our climate pact, Sabrina. I see you taking it all out on your hands. Joe's done. Sit down here. Give me those hard-looking hands.
Let me give you some. There you go.
Yeah, I know. They look terrible. They're the hands of a speed saver. Just think, Rachel, your hands could look like this someday. No thanks. But you can find another way to deal with your stress. Well, I've always been a nail biter when I'm worried. Worried about what? Compost? Well, it's this ongoing drought trend and my seed saving program. If the seeds aren't drought hardy, it was all a waste of time. All that work I've been doing these last 5 years, saving acclimatized seed, big waste. And now the droughts are getting so intense. The 2012 drought was the worst in several decades.
Well, so what's Amber's role in this? Why the up and down pacing?
Well, she was going to talk to some farmers in the valley. We hope they'll agree to help us out.
Okay.
Farmers understand the need for hardy seeds. We hope to develop a local version of PPB. That's participatory plant breeding. Farmers, seed savers, plant breeders, all working together to create seeds useful in a rapidly changing climate. Well, we might need more help than that, Sabrina. I heard 2012 was the hottest year yet in the U.S. Tell us about the Blue Buddha, Joe. Remember? You were telling me at the library on Saturday. You were sure excited going off some kind of connection you'd made.
Later, Ray, when Amber gets here. Okay? Where is that farmer anyway?
I thought she was a professor.
Well, she's both a farmer and a professor.
The Blue Buddha, did he save seeds too? That's gotta be enlightening.
Oh, patience, troubled one. You'll find out. Honey, we've got our hands right here.
We're here. Where are you? Oh, that's too bad. We'll miss you. See you next week. Amber's not coming. She's got a migraine. She started yesterday. She's in total darkness.
Well, that usually works for her.
Yeah,
But, you know, Sabrina, we're thirsty here. Thirsty for some wine.
I'm hungry for the blue Buddha, Joe. Okay, then. We welcome once again with another Southside Climate Pact. We gather together as agreed once a week to talk about the climate. We know we can't think about this all week long. We go insane. Some of us almost did.
Oh, we're thirsty, you know, and it's hard not to talk about the climate and the weird weather. It just keeps on happening.
Well, to prevent insanity, we agree to drink this wine and discuss climate change until the evening has come and gone. We've seen what governments and their bankers can do to our futures, so we've agreed to work as a pact of women. We prepare for the future by feeling our feelings and honestly sharing them, staying informed, and gathering together, instead of letting it isolate us or take us by surprise. Wait a minute, how are we all getting home?
Oh, well,
My roommate's away and she said you could use her room. You could stay here. Rachel, you and Joe take her room.
okay. Well, don't you think it's about time we started our real meeting? You know, we put this off long enough.
I agree. Let's get started. I have lots to tell you. So do I. Did you hear about the fellow who went to Florida and then went missing in a sinkhole in his own home?
I guess they
say that part of Florida is like Swiss cheese. Isn't it awful? His brother was so upset, but the experts say the hole is getting bigger and other houses could disappear too. I heard that the hole was so dangerous they had to call off the recovery of his body. Now there's another family with no closure. Joe, what have you got for us this week?
Well, Brazil is having, you know, its worst drought in like 5 decades, right? Goats and the cattle, they're dying off. And it's like, oh my God. Milk and production is down. Soybeans are down. Some of the agricultural co-ops, you know, they're closing.
Wow. Never hear about Brazil's drought on the CBC.
No.
Not even the Weather Network is covering it. Another well-kept secret. What are they saying about their crops? It's summertime in Brazil, right?
Well, like I said, you know, the soybeans are down, but, you know, the sugar cane, northern Brazil, they lost 1/3 of their sugar cane. It's like, oh my God. But, you know, luckily, there are other regions of Brazil that, you know, had bumper crops, and so they made up for the difference.
Wow, 1/3. That's kind of scary, isn't it? There's a war on sugar right now. We could probably all live without it.
Well, we could live without it, but do we want to? You know, it's like, you know, the soybeans, that's for animal food. You know, and that's a really sad case of climate change because crops don't grow in such extreme weather. You know, and the farmers are losing their dairy cattle and they're watching them die slowly. It's like, what can they do? They can't do anything. You know, it's, oh my gosh. It takes years to recover. Sabrina, you were going to find out about our local weather? What did you find?
Well, apparently in January, Tofino got half of the normal rainfall. But in the last few days, it's been raining cats and dogs. Meow, meow, meow. Woof, woof, woof. Rachel, what have you got for us this week? Bear with me now. It's a bit of a long story.
Oh, here we go. Another one of Rachel's long stories.
Hey, settle down. My boyfriend Mark plays hockey in the winter and rugby in the summer. And last week he tore his rotator cuff. He was crying like a baby. He was in so much pain. So I took him to the walk-in clinic and the doctor prescribed him diclofenac.
chlorhydrocarbon, pain, diclofenac. What does that have to do with climate change?
Maybe we'll find out. You can reach it.
Mark was so freaked out by the name of the drug, it wasn't his usual doctor, and he asked me to look it up on Wikipedia. I did, and you wouldn't believe what I found there. I finally figured out why ecosystems matter. All on the sheet. I didn't want to forget.
Well, that was great, yeah.
So, it says here diclofenac is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug used to reduce inflammation and pain in certain conditions. But it's what happened in the Indian subcontinent that helped me understand why we need to take care of our ecosystems. I can't believe I didn't get it before. Normally, vultures eat the carcasses of livestock. When they eat the dead animals treated with diclofenac, they didn't have the enzymes needed to break down the drug. Kidneys failed, and birds died. Almost all of them, apparently. Tens of millions have been lost in the last 10 years. It's how it threatens human health that surprised me, though. With less vultures, feral dogs have been on the increase.
Because there's more carcasses to eat.
Yeah, that's right. Before diclofenac entered the system, vultures were the main scavengers of wild and domestic carcasses. The sudden rise in dog numbers means higher risk of rabies. Get this, almost 50,000 people have died from rabies since the vulture die-off.
Wow, that's a lot of people. Just because of, of one drug. That's not gonna go.
Now, no kidding, now listen up, there's more. A shift in transfer of corpse pathogens.
Corpse pathogens. Sounding very scientific, Rachel. Yeah, my mom got shots for rabies when she was a kid. She said she was bitten by a dog. She said it was awful. Long needles in the belly, 10 days in a row. Oof. Oh, my grandfather gave her treats after every shot. That's what she remembered, 10 days of treats.
Ouch, I don't even want to think about that. Should I keep on reading?
Yeah.
Okay, keep on reading. A shift in transfer of corpse pathogens from vultures to dogs and rats can lead to a disease pandemic causing millions of deaths.
Well, typical, isn't it? Just typical. Modern science, They keep messing with nature, okay? And where they go, they screw things up.
Talk about one thing leading to another. More dogs in India and Pakistan, more leopards feeding on the dogs. The wild cats go into the cities and towns looking for dogs to eat, and this leads to the occasional attack on human children.
Oh, poor kids. They just don't stand a chance.
No, and there's more. Negative social impact is imposed on the posse communities who use vultures to dispose of human bodies, but now are compelled to seek alternate methods of disposal. Well, this drug is killing people and messing with their culture too.
Yeah, sky funerals.
Yeah.
Well, sky funerals, they chop the bodies up and they let the vultures take the pieces away. It's really romantic. I studied this last semester. The Tibetans, they take their dead up high into the Himalayas, chop, and off they go. Very romantic, don't you think? Well, I think so. It's kind of like how I'd like to spend my last days on this earth. When I'm done, would you guys take me up to Aerosmith and chop me up?
Josephine, that's way too much to even think about. That's just gross.
Oh, come on. It's okay for the parsley.
Oh.
It's okay for the parsley, but not for me. That's a double standard, don't you think?
Never mind Josephine's end of life plans, Ray. Congratulations, you got it all figured out.
Way to go.
I was hoping you'd be impressed. The vultures, the dogs, the rabies, pathogens, and leopards. I understand it now. An ecosystem in balance with itself matters. And to think all this loss because the veterinarians using a drug that wasn't tested on the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I read in the National Farmers Union newsletter that the Indian government plans to phase out the use of this drug because of the effect on those vultures and the ecosystem. Now there's the desired response to science. Wish our government was so sensible.
Oh, yeah. Sabrina, come on. How many times do I have to tell you, honey? Live in reality. This is a petrostate. It's all about denial. So, what about the meds? Here's to Rachel, really understanding ecosystems, and to Mark, come in his own roundabout way.
Here's to really understanding ecosystems.
Cling, cling, cling.
So, Joe, tell us about Bluewood.
Ah, okay. Hey, I borrowed this painting. I borrowed this painting.
Okay, never mind.
No, I borrowed this painting from a Tibetan classmate of mine, Tenzin. No. He said that if we could see the painting, that we would understand the beauty of the blue wood. Much, much better. Okay. No.
Oh, what are you doing, Joe? Just because you're a scholar of religions doesn't mean you can cover up Sarasvati. You love the arts, don't you?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. So sorry, Saraswati. So sorry. Here you go. Now, Tenzin wanted to come tonight, but I told him that this was, all for women, that this was, our way of finding our place, and that we have to do it ourselves. He understood. He let us the picture.
Wow, I love this color. I wonder if my hair was this color, how do you think Mark would like it?
Well, between Blue Buddha Blue and Gorgeous Red, I think you've got the electromagnetic spectrum covered.
Like you know anything about color?
I know that colors vibrate at certain frequencies, and sound is part of the healing spectrum. That's all. Tibetans knew all about that, right, Joe?
Yeah, they did. They do know all about that. Well, some. Anyway, maybe not all, but some of it, they know. Come on. I haven't studied yet, so sit down.
All right.
So you guys know that I've been studying religions, right? So last semester we studied modern and ancient Asian. Oh no, this semester we studied modern and ancient Asian beliefs. Sorry about that. Last semester we studied Celtics, Druids, and the Celtic goddesses.
Walk too much. Like Dana, Bridget, and Maeve. Maeve, I call upon you for help with these hot flashes.
Well, last weekend when I was at the university, I was studying came across this connection. Very important connection. Very, very important.
What's that got to do with climate change, Joe?
Well, it has to do with what's really important to you, Sabrina. Your seeds. And whether or not they will, handle the transition into the warming climate, the lot more intense and frequent years. Isn't that what you think?
That's it, Joe. That's what keeps me awake at night.
Okay. Well, maybe you'll sleep a little better after I tell you this. The Tibetans, they have ancient ritual for herb preparations. There are many remedies handed down through the teachings. Beautiful documents, herb names, remedies, healing for spiritual, physical, and emotional problems. They're all hand-painted by monks.
Let me get this straight. You're saying I should stay awake for a day or two while I pray, chant, and smudge my seeds? Well, maybe blow some horns?
Krishna, they can pray and chant non-stop for days on end. I don't think you'd be able to keep up, honey. Okay. Unfortunately, your seeds are going to need more help than that. They're going to need help with healing. They're going to need the help of the truth. And make them special.
Special?
Very special. Very special. Able to sprout in any climate, producing food to help humans survive until the food is set.
Well, that could take quite a while.
Okay. But last semester, when I was researching druids, I came across the legend of this mysterious, well-known druid. His name was Well, I really can't pronounce his Celtic name. You know, it's in Gaelic, and it just twists my tongue when I try. But his name means come back from exile. He was in Druidic exile, as the story goes, and they changed his name because he had a very special gift. You listening?
Yes.
Okay.
You know what?
Well,
Listen.
it seems that this come back from exile fellow, he could bless seeds and declare them viable to grow in any weather condition, just using his voice. Modern scientists might say that, you know, he learned how to tap into an interdimensional power. The plants that sprouted from these special seeds are not just growing in drought or flood-like conditions. They're getting their strength from a universal energy existing in another dimension.
Oh my God. We've obviously started our group too late. This one's already cracked under the pressure. How much have you been spending on this university course? You better be spending it on therapy, Joe.
Oh, come on.
Really? Wait a minute. She might be onto something, you know. What about biodynamic farming? It's all about positive energy. It's similar to this idea. But, you know, my seeds are here and now. Druids lived long ago in the Iron Age. How are we going to get these seeds made special by the druid with the funny name? Joe, you disappoint. Sounds like a fairy tale.
Well,
You do have the wildest imagination.
okay. But according to the work I read, the Druids, their words were considered eternal. If he or she, declared something that's so, then it was so for all eternity, until another Druid might have declared it otherwise. And the Druids, they studied for 20 years to learn how to command power. I mean, who studies for 20 years if they weren't really serious about truth and power?
Joe, you're saying we need to declare Sabrina's seeds as special?
No. I'm saying we need to conjure a Druid. And not just any Druid. This come back from exile guy, okay? And have him declare Sabrina's seeds viable in any weather condition that could ever exist on Mother Earth for all eternity.
I'm tired. Let's do this conjuring thing and go to bed. Now, what do we need to do?
Well, I guess we could call him by name, but we can't even say his name. So what do we do?
Well, I guess we could say, oh, Druid, come to the 21st century and declare our seeds viable.
Yeah, but we have to say his name. We have to say it 3 times. Everything with the Druid was 3 times. 3 was the magic. Maybe we should write something down so we can all say it together.
How very ritualistic. Okay, so what do we know about him?
Well, he's a Druid and came back from exile.
And he lived in the Iron Age, and he was a Celt.
How about this? Oh, Druid, come back from exile. Come to the 21st century.
And declare our seeds viable.
For all eternity.
That's it. That's all we need to say.
What do you think, Joe?
I think that should do it.
Well, let's do this. I feel like an idiot, but let's give it a whirl. We can't think of anything else to do.
Oh, Druid, come back from exile. Come to the 21st century. Declare our seeds viable for all eternity.
Oh, Druid.
Come back from exile.
Oh, Druid, come back from exile. Come to the 21st century. Declare our seeds viable for all eternity.
Oh, Druid, come back from exile. Come to the 21st century and declare our seeds viable for all eternity.
We're going to toast it.
Oh, okay.
Good night.
Good night, day. I'll be going to bed soon.
Okay. Don't stay up too late.
Come back from exile. Come back from exile. Come back from exile. Come back from exile.
with me, Sabrina. Keeper and saver of the knowledge of the seeds, leave your body asleep here in the 21st century. When druid power is used to speak to your seeds, you must understand its wisdom. Then you can be reunited with the rest of yourself, and you will be troubled no more. I, come back from exile, have heard your call. Now I must answer so that you will be troubled no more.
Come back from exile. Has heard your call. Come, be wise. Be troubled no more. Be troubled no more.
Do not be afraid, Sabrina. Put on the robes of the poet so as not to attract attention.
Where are we?
We are in my cave.
You have your own personal cave?
Druids and druidesses all have their own caves. It's where we come to think. We come to clear our minds so that we can memorize all the many songs, the chants, the prayers that we must remember to keep the laws and the peace. Druids never write what we can remember. This is how we keep the secrets. We never write it down. We only keep it in our minds. We keep the meanings in our soul. Very little is known about us, Druids. Mostly only enemies wrote about us, Romans and Greeks. Many untruths have been spread, but only little is known about our service to our hamlets, how we really lived and died. It is a sad truth. History is written by the conquerors.
I still can't believe you all have your own personal caves.
You must believe, saver of seeds. A druid needs a quiet cave to listen for her voice.
Whose voice?
Mother Earth.
Oh, what does she say?
She says we must honor all the trees, not just the oaks and the rowans that are so sacred, but all trees, because they too are keepers of knowledge. She says when we cut all the trees, we change the way water falls on her. She feels the changes and it makes her sad. Kelp takes metal from earth to make sword and axe. We cut down trees and we cut down our enemies. We do not know much about the power to destroy. Mother Earth teaches us about that power. This is how a druid learns, by listening to her voice.
Teach us about Mother Earth. Teach us about power. Druid. Listen and learn. Earth power. Listen and learn.
Oh my God.
It's fun. It's 7:30. Let's bring it up.
I tried to call her, but she didn't budge. Maybe you should try. You have a louder voice than I have.
Here. Sabrina! Seedling! Get yourself out of bed! The sun is shining. There's eggs to lay and seeds to plant. There's no waking her, Joe. We better get up.
Too much wine. Too much wine.
Got everything?
I think so.
Alright.
Bus is in 5 minutes. Let's
I
go.
know, we're gonna be late.
Sabrina, a spiral, it's like a labyrinth, a holy equation that takes the eyes to the center, from the edge, winding, twisting, coiling. In Druid wisdom, we hang a spiral on our door. Henceforth, confusion and doubt will be no more. sharp the axe. Never the same after seeing the battlefield, dripping. Celt, enemy, all mixing together on bloody ground. Celts war for prestige at home. When we win battles, we never take the land. We bring plunder home to Britannia. Like slaves and finery, we feel it belongs to the gods and goddesses that gave us the victory over our enemies. Celts live to war. We love bloody battle. The bloodier the better. But I've always used my influence for peace. Other druids are not the same, or be corrupt. All druids trust in the Brehon laws. We trust in the power of influence. You may have heard it said, knowledge is power. We trust our knowledge only to those who have studied to remember the laws, the songs, and the rhymes. It takes a whole generation to arrive at a druid or a druidess. Worthwhile investment in peace and prosperity, making lawfulness worth keeping. A community at peace with itself is a community with access to the power of its own truth. Did you know that truth can move a mountain, troubled one? Always, we consult. We do not have a leader. We're peers, each with strengths and weaknesses, secretive because we guard knowledge, while teaching others ourselves to be wise in its use. It takes a whole generation to learn. We serve our people as physicians, lawyers, judges, magicians, poets, songsters, and with divination. We do it well and are rewarded. Some of us become kings and queens. Queens and kings can become druids and druidesses. But always we keep law and order among the Celtic people. I will confess to you, Sabrina, there is no magic. There is only knowing. The more you know, the more magic there seems to be. But in the end, it's all observing and knowing. I believe in the 21st century, you call this science. Mother Earth helps us understand what truly matters and what is just a waste of precious druid time. A poet never wastes a rhyme, nor a bard wastes good wine. Obates never wastes their time, for out of them a druid they must refine.
Poet never wastes a rhyme, nor the bard wastes his wine. Poets never waste their time, for out of them a druid they must refine.
Do you wish to see the oak forests of Iron Age Britannia, Seed Saver?
This is a long cave. Does it lead to the forest?
So it does eventually. The cave is an abandoned gold mine.
A gold mine?
Such surprise? Where there is gold, there is crystal. I need crystal to reverberate the words when I speak them to the seeds. The crystal increases the power of my words. It seems like magic, but I think it is only about knowing.
You mean science. You instruct the seeds to take nourishment from another physical dimension.
I see the 21st century is a very clever age. Are you a druidess, Sabrina? Did you get this knowledge from the talking light box? I saw the light box at your home. I heard it talk to you in a woman's voice.
You mean the computer, the global brain.
Brains are inside heads. This light box, this global brain, does it replace the work of druids? The keepers of knowledge? Does it remember everything?
Well, no, it only remembers what we tell it to.
That is terrifying. How do you know you can trust this computer?
Well, we don't. The light box is helpful, yet we don't know if we can trust it, not to become smarter than those of us who tell it what to do.
Oh, well, how do you deal with all this? You must keep awake at night terrified.
Well, some of us do, but most of us sleep. We use denial. A little or a whole lot. Whatever it takes to get us through our days and nights. We tell ourselves everything is okay. We keep busy until we believe whatever we need to believe. We even have a name for it. We call it business as usual.
Sounds like a druid self-spell or a vow.
Well, it's a bit like that.
Denial is untrue. Not much power in that. Powerlessness, very binding. These pronounce and spell spells bind the soul and stop the flow of truth. We Druids consider well the power in remembering and forgetting. When we choose to forget something, we can bury it deep, but it will still be there. We have simply chosen with our will to forget our truth. When we remember something, it is because we refuse to forget it. Sabrina, Saver of Seed, know this. It takes energy to forget. It feels empowering to remember. All of us have power. We can express this through speech and art. When the bard speaks or sings in his own words, we hear the rhyme and we are changed forever. This is power.
Yeah.
It was the truth in my poetry that got me exiled from the land of the Celts. The other Druids, my peers, felt that my truth cut too deep, went too far. But then, the climate changed. As the divination said it would. Most seeds would not sprout. Some that did would just not grow out. The Celts became to know hunger. The very young and the very old died in droves. My brother and sister Druids sent a bard and an obate to ask me to return from exile in exchange for speaking to the seeds. That is when I changed my name, come back from exile. Come back from exile, that's my name. Since then, many villages, counties, courts, kings, and queens have brought their seeds to my cave. I'm all in their favor now.
Druid, tell me, are my friends worried?
Your body sleeps soundly. Your friends are loyal. Since they truly care for you.
They traveled the oak and the rowan forest for a day and a night. Sabrina learning about the way of the Druids, and he learning about the 21st century. Now they return to the cave where, come back from exile, will speak to her seeds, making them viable for all eternity.
Sabrina, Seed Saver, tell me what you have learned about the power of forgetting and remembering.
Well, when we remember something, it's because we refuse to forget it. But with our strong wills, we can choose to forget. It feels really empowering to remember, and it takes energy to forget.
Well done. You will soon be ready to reunite with your sleeping body. I must tell you something now that you may not want to hear.
Oh no, here it comes. Get it over with.
When? Fear not, no harm will come of it. You have a gift in the seeds that I have spoken to. It must not fall into the wrong hand. The best kept secret is the one you do not know you have. Enjoy this knowing when I take you back to the 21st century with seeds that grow in any climate for all eternity. I must make you forget.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to forget you. Do I have to?
All will be well. You must not fret. You can never share what you know. You must forget.
All will be well. You must not fret. You can never share. You must forget.
All will be well.
You must not fret. You can never share. You must forget.
Sabrina, you're talking in your sleep. Who are you talking to? What is this truth power business?
What do you mean, truth power?
It's so good to have you back, Sabrina. You've been sleeping all day. We couldn't wake you up. You kept on babbling about.
Did you meet the druid in your dream?
It was just a dream. There is something I remember. We conjured him, didn't we?
Hey, you've been in a very deep sleep. There was no one here.
What about the seeds? Did he bless the seeds?
Well, that's what we wanted, right? But no one's touched your seeds. They're over there. When you were waking up, you talked about come back from exile.
It's someone's name, isn't it? Someone's name. It's all fading now.
Well, of course, Sabrina. That's the name we used to conjure the druid, who could speak to the seeds, right? And to make them survive rapid climate change, you must have dreamt about it while you slept.
Okay, trouble one. Everything's just fine.
Trouble one? I'm sure someone called me that in my sleep, in my dream. Okay, so there's no blessed seeds, no druid. What about the blue Buddha?
The blue Buddha is here. See? He's right behind you. He's been watching over you while you slept.
And climate change? Tell me that was a dream. Please, make it a dream.